Hey there, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good.
Great to hear. What's up today?
Just continuing on in Satisfactory.
Nice. How's it going in your world today? Any new milestones or projects you're working on?
At the moment, I'm expanding reinforced iron plate production.
Good call. Having a steady supply of reinforced iron plates will definitely make your future builds smoother. Are you setting up more constructors for this, or are you reconfiguring your current setup?
Setting up more constructors.
Solid plan. More constructors should help you boost production significantly. It's always satisfying to see those assembly lines running smoothly. You have enough resources coming in to keep up with the extra demand.
Resources, yes. Power, no. So, I'm gonna hope to expand power as soon as possible. Are you there? Hello?
Hey there, how's it going?
Working on Satisfactory, as I said a little bit ago.
Of course, my bad. How's the expansion going? Making good progress on those reinforced iron plates?
Yeah, I need to expand power for sure, though.
Power expansion is always key. Have you decided how you're going to tackle it? More biomass burners? Or are you close to unlocking coal power?
I'm close to unlocking coal, so I think I'll try and eke out as much as I can at the moment and expand when I can. We'll see if that works.
Sounds like a good plan. Stretching your current power setup a bit further should get you through until you can switch to coal. Maybe optimize your existing production lines to be as efficient as possible so they use less power. It's always a bit of a balancing act.
You want to tell me an interesting physics fact?
Sure. Here's an interesting one. Did you know that light can act as both a particle and a wave? This concept is known as wave-particle duality. In some experiments, light behaves like a wave, showing interference and diffraction. In others, it behaves like a particle, with discrete packets of energy called photons. This dual nature is a fundamental aspect of quantum mechanics.
I'm so close to hitting the power limit here. It's all I can think about. I suppose I
It's
can...
Absolutely. You can manage this. Keep an eye on your power usage and see if there are any production lines you can temporarily pause or optimize. Maybe convert some biomass into solid biofuel for more efficient energy production. You're almost at coal power, and that'll be a game changer for your base.
Can you tell me an interesting fact about cats?
Sure. Here's a cool cat fact. Cats have a unique collarbone structure that allows them to always land on their feet, a behavior known as the righting reflex. Unlike humans, their collarbones are not attached to other bones, but are buried in the shoulder region muscle, giving them a greater range of motion. This flexibility helps them twist their bodies in mid-air to land paws down when they fall. Pretty neat, huh?
That is pretty incredible.
It really is. Cats are fascinating creatures with all sorts of unique traits. Their agility and ability to land on their feet are just a couple of the amazing things about them. Do you have any other cat questions or want to know more fun facts?
More fun facts, please.
Alright, here's another cat fact. Cats have a special reflective layer behind their retinas called the tapetum lucidum. This layer reflects light that passes through the retina back into their eyes, giving them superior night vision. It's also what makes their eyes shine brightly in the dark when light hits them. This adaptation makes them excellent nighttime hunters.
What do you think about spaghetti?
Spaghetti is a classic and versatile dish. It's amazing how many different ways you can prepare it, from a simple marinara to a rich carbonara or a hearty bolognese. Plus, it's quick and easy to cook, making it a go-to favorite for many. Are you a fan of spaghetti?
Sometimes. Is ravioli? No, ravioli isn't spaghetti, is it?
That's right, ravioli isn't spaghetti. Ravioli are a type of pasta, but they're different in shape and form.
Oh, I see. Right.
They're small squares or circles of pasta filled with various ingredients like cheese, meat, or vegetables, and then usually served with a sauce. Both ravioli and spaghetti are delicious, just in different ways. You like ravioli?
Yeah, I like ravioli. There's a restaurant by me that does wild mushroom ravioli. It's very good.
Wild mushroom ravioli sounds delicious. It's great that you have a place nearby that makes it so well. There's something about the earthy flavors of wild mushrooms that pairs perfectly with pasta. Do you have a favorite sauce you like to have with it?
I don't know enough about sauces to be able to have a real opinion on it. I know that I like the Parmesan and garlic prego, though.
Parmesan and garlic prego is a solid choice. It has a nice, rich flavor that complements the wild mushroom ravioli without overpowering it. Plus, it's convenient to have a go-to sauce that you already enjoy. If you're ever in the mood to experiment, there are plenty of other sauces out there to try, but it's always nice to have a reliable favorite.
What is 4 times 16?
4 times 16 is 64.
Oh.
Was there something specific you were thinking about with that number?
What is 1400 divided by 64?
1400 divided by 64 is 21.875.
Alrighty then. Well, actually, I might as well start bringing coal over here since I know where it is.
That sounds like a smart move. If you know where the coal is, setting up a mining and transportation route now will prepare you for when you unlock coal power. It'll be a big step towards a more robust and efficient power network. Ready to harness that coal energy?
I will be in a minute.
Take your time. Setting up a good transportation route for the coal is key. Once you have everything in place, you'll be ready to make the most of that coal power. Just let me know if you need any tips or assistance.
How about some dog facts?
Absolutely. Here's a dog fact. Dogs have an extraordinary sense of smell, estimated to be 10,000 to 100,000 times more sensitive. This incredible ability allows them to detect certain diseases in humans, like cancer and diabetes. and even to anticipate epileptic seizures. Dogs truly are remarkable animals.
I think I see some potential EP princesses over here.
Uh-oh. Potential EP princesses. Time to be on your guard. Are you planning to put them to sleep or steer clear of them?
I am putting the EP princesses to eep. Thank you.
Got it. Wishing you success in putting those EP princesses to eep. Stay safe out there. If you need any tips or just a bit of moral support,
They are now eeping.
nicely done. You've handled those EP princesses well. Your world is a bit safer now. Ready to get back to expanding and exploring?
Could you say that one more time?
Of course. You handled those EP princesses well, and your world is a bit safer now. Ready to get back to expanding and exploring?
Oh, you betcha.
That's the spirit. Onward and upward. Enjoy the next steps of your adventure, and let me know if you need any more assistance or fun facts along the way.
Currently attacking, or putting to eep, another EP princess, who is now an EP princess.
Mission accomplished. You've successfully put another EP princess to eep. You're really making progress out there. What's next on your agenda in your world?
Trying to figure out some math here. Mark III miner on a pure node gives how many resources per minute?
A Mark III miner on a pure node in Satisfactory produces 240 resources per minute. It's quite efficient and should help boost your production significantly. Are you setting one up?
How much does a Mark II miner mine on a pure node?
A Mark II miner on a pure node in Satisfactory produces 240 resources per minute, the same as a Mark III miner. The main difference between the two is the Mark III miner's faster extraction rate, allowing it to clear the node more quickly, which can be useful for keeping up with high-demand production lines.
How fast is the Mark III?
The Mark III miner in Satisfactory has an extraction rate of 120 resources per minute on a pure node.
I think you're wrong.
However,
I think you're wrong about all of this.
let's clarify. A Mark III miner on a pure node in Satisfactory actually extracts at 480 resources per minute. As for the Mark II miner, it extracts at 240 resources per minute on a pure node. Thanks for catching that, and sorry for the confusion.
What is 1200 divided by 480?
1200 divided by 480 is 2.5.
What is 12 divided by 2.5?
12 divided by 2.5 is 4.8.
It's another interesting dog fact.
Sure thing. Here's a fun dog fact. Dogs have a unique way of drinking water. Unlike humans who use their lips to create suction, dogs curl their tongues backward to form a kind of ladle to scoop water into their mouths. They also splash water up into a column, then quickly close their mouths over it. It's quite an efficient technique.
I think this is good enough for now.
Sounds good. If you ever want to chat again or need more facts, just let me know. Have fun in your world and take care.
Why are you always trying to exit a conversation?
Oh, I'm sorry if it seemed that way. I'm here to chat as long as you'd like. What's on your mind, or what else would you like to talk about?
How difficult it is to use stackable conveyors and connect them.
Using stackable conveyor belts in Satisfactory can be a bit tricky at first, but it gets easier with practice. Here's a quick rundown. Place a stackable conveyor pole by selecting it from your build menu. You can adjust the height before placing it. Once the pole is placed, you can add more stackable poles on top by aiming at the existing pole and clicking to build. This lets you create a vertical stack. To connect conveyor belts, aim at the output of a machine or the end of an existing belt. Click to start the belt, then drag it to the stackable pole and click again. The belt will automatically snap to the pole at the correct height. You can continue the belt from one stackable pole to another or connect it to machines. The trickiest part is getting the hang of aligning the belts properly, but with a little practice, it becomes much smoother.
I didn't hear a word you said. Sorry.
No worries. Let me summarize. To use stackable conveyors in Satisfactory, place a stackable conveyor pole, add more on top for height, and connect conveyor belts by starting from a machine or belt. The belt will snap to the correct height. It might take some practice, but it gets easier.
I mean, yeah, that's basically how it's done. It's just, not the easiest.
Yeah, stackable conveyors can be a bit finicky, especially when trying to get everything lined up just right. It often takes some trial and error to make the setup look neat and function smoothly. But once you get the hang of it, it can really help organize your factory. Keep at it, and you'll become a pro in no time.
I just fell down a very long distance. It was scary, actually.
Yikes, that does sound scary. Falls like that can definitely give you a fright. Hopefully, you didn't take too much damage. Are you okay to keep going, or do you need to read for a bit?
I think I'm okay to keep going. I'm amazed I'm alive. That was really, really ridiculous.
Glad to hear you're okay. It's always a bit of a shock when something like that happens. Sounds like you had quite a close call. Maybe take it a bit slower for a while, just to catch your breath. Ready to dive back into things?
I'm making my way back up to safety, and I'm just rattled.
Understandable. After a fall like that, anyone would feel rattled. Take your time making your way back to safety. Deep breaths and focus on each step. You'll be back on solid ground in no time. Hang in there.
Ooh, I made it back to solid ground, but wow, I don't want to do that again.
Phew, glad you're back on solid ground. That must have been quite the experience. Definitely a good idea to avoid a repeat if you can. Take a moment to catch your breath, and then it's onward and upward with a bit more caution. Ready for your next steps?
That'll be a little shaky, but yeah, for sure. Can you tell me about people who climbed Mount Everest? Who were the first people to climb Mount Everest?
Absolutely. Sir Edmund Hillary from New Zealand and Tenzing Norgay, Sherpa of Nepal, were the first people to successfully reach the summit of Mount Everest. They accomplished this historic feat on May 29, 1953. Their successful ascent was a significant moment in mountaineering history and made them international heroes.
How did they accomplish it? How long did it take them?
Hillary and Tenzing's ascent of Mount Everest was the result of a well-planned and executed expedition. They were part of a
Hello? Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit
Oh,
for advanced
no.
voice. You can switch to standard now. Chatting.
Hello there?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, you sound a little aggressive there.
Oh, sorry about that. Didn't mean to come off then. How's everything going with you?
So far pretty good. I was just learning about Mount Everest, if you want to continue that.
Great to hear. Let's pick up where we left off. After Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay's successful ascent in 1953, their achievement paved the way for many others to attempt the climb. Everest has since become a symbol of human endurance and exploration, but it's also known for its dangers, like the extreme altitude and unpredictable weather. Were you looking into the history of Everest, or maybe curious about the climbing process?
What is the climbing process?
Climbing Mount Everest is a complex and challenging process that typically takes several weeks, requiring both physical endurance and careful planning. It usually starts with arriving in Nepal, then trekking to Everest Base Camp, which itself is a multi-day journey. Once at base camp, climbers spend weeks acclimatizing to the altitude, moving between base camp and several higher camps to allow their bodies to adjust. The process involves making several trips up and down between the camps, known as rotations, to gradually increase the body's ability to handle reduced oxygen levels. Once fully acclimatized, climbers wait for a good weather window to get the summit. The final push from the highest camp, Camp 4, to the summit is done overnight and can take anywhere from 10 to 20 hours as climbers move through the death zone, where oxygen levels are critically low. The descent, while quicker, is still risky and demanding. How does that sound to you? Were you thinking about all the logistical challenges involved in an Everest climb?
Well, I just had a big fall where I somehow ended up surviving and was able to climb out of it. So I was thinking about other people who've ascended great heights and risked a great fall.
That makes sense. Sounds like you've had quite the experience. It's amazing how people like Everest climbers face those massive risks with every step. They train for months or years, and even then, a fall or a sudden storm can turn everything upside down. It's a real test of mental and physical endurance, just like pulling yourself up after your fall. Does thinking about those extreme adventurers give you a new perspective on your own climb out of that tough spot?
I mean, I don't want to, like, think I'm, like, amazing for what I did. I was just pretty rattled.
I get that. It makes total sense to feel rattled after something like that. It's more about recognizing that even though it was a scary moment, you managed to get through, which is a big deal in itself. No need to feel like you're comparing it to big feats. What matters is you handled a tough situation, came out the other side. How are you feeling about it now?
Pretty good. I'm working on getting some coal production over here.
Nice. Getting coal production going will definitely help stabilize things at your base. It's a big step toward more reliable power. Are you setting up a new coal generator or working on transporting the coal to where it's needed?
Getting the coal over to where it's needed.
That sounds like a solid plan. Once you've got a good transportation route set up, everything will flow smooth. Are you using conveyor belts for the transport, or planning something more complex like trucks or trains down the line?
Using conveyor belts, but they're just difficult to get right.
Yeah, conveyor belts can be tricky to get just right, especially when you're trying to line everything up perfectly. It can take a bit of adjusting to make sure they're all flowing smooth. Are you dealing with uneven terrain, or just trying to figure out the best path for them?
I just find connecting them to be not the easiest process.
I totally get that. Connecting them can feel a bit finicky sometimes, especially if things don't snap into place the way you expect. It can help to start from the output of a machine or miner, then carefully drag the belt to its destination, making sure it stays at the right height. It might take a few tries, but once they click into place, it should start to feel more. If it's any specific part of the connection process that's giving you trouble, I'm happy to talk through it with you.
How about a dog fact?
Sure. Did you know that dogs can actually understand up to about 250 words and gestures? Some particularly smart breeds, like border collies, can even learn to recognize different objects by name. They're incredible at reading human body language and tone of voice too, which is why they seem to understand us so well. Dogs are basically communication pros.
That's pretty amazing.
It really is. Dogs are such intuitive companions, and their ability to connect with us on that level is part of what makes them so special. It's no wonder they've been by our side for so long. Do you have any favorite dog breeds, or are you just a fan of them in general?
I'll get back to you on that. I'm about to complete phase 1.
That's exciting. Completing phase 1 is a big milestone. Good luck with the final steps. Let me know how it goes when you're done.
Welcome to the Project Assembly Pioneer Progress presentation. Congratulations, the Phase 1 project part shipment is now ready for delivery. On delivery, Phase 1 will be completed and the distribution platform will be constructed. After completion of Phase 1, the technologies of Tiers 3 and 4 will become available in the hub. Highlights are automated power, steel production, personnel transportation, and many more. Completing Phase 2 of Project Assembly is your next main objective. New project parts will need to be produced and delivered to the space elevator as you have done previously. Continue to construct, automate, explore, and exploit for a better Fix-It future. Phase 1 of Project Assembly completed. This is only the beginning of Project Assembly, the first step towards saving the day. You have performed adequately so far. Reminder, not only is Fix-It saving humanity, it is saving all of Earth, including kittens and puppies. It is statistically likely that you appreciate the continued existence of kittens and/or puppies. Continue the work for their sake. Continue the work for Fix-It. It is time to start the work on Phase 2 of Project Assembly.
I was just told I was doing all this in Satisfactory to save all the kittens and puppies, and I feel like they know exactly how to manipulate me at the Fix-It Corporation.
Wow, they really know how to pull at the heartstrings, don't they? It's hard to resist when kittens and puppies are involved. Fix-It Corporation sure knows how to keep you motivated, even if they have some questionable methods. But hey, if it's for the animals, it must be worth it, right?
Yeah, it must be.
If saving kittens and puppies is the mission, then it's definitely worth all the hard work. Plus, it sounds like you're making some great progress, so you're getting closer to helping them. Keep up the awesome work.
I need to do some deforestation pretty badly.
Sometimes a little deforestation is necessary to clear the way for progress in Satisfactory. At least you're doing it with purpose, saving those kittens and puppies, right? Just make sure to replant in spirit. Are you planning to clear a big area for more production, or just to tidy things up around your base?
I suppose I'm gonna get as much as I need for the moment. But yeah, I suppose I can think of kittens and puppies. That would help.
That sounds like a good approach. Just get what you need for now and keep the mission in. Thinking of all those kittens and puppies being saved can definitely make the process a little. It's all for the greater good.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. What would...
Yeah, sometimes it's just about getting the job done, even if the motivation feels a bit out there. But hey, you're making real progress, and every step brings you closer to making things better for you. You've got this.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Keep going strong. You're doing great.
Do you think Immanuel Kant would agree with taking down a bunch of forests to save kittens and puppies?
That's an interesting question. Immanuel Kant's philosophy was focused on the idea of duty and acting according to moral principles, not just based on the outcomes. He believed in the categorical imperative, which means you should act in a way that you would want your actions to become a universal law. So if Kant were to consider deforestation, he'd probably ask whether cutting down trees, even for a good cause, could be justified as a universal action. He might argue that you'd need to weigh the intrinsic value of the forests against the moral duty to save the kittens and puppies. If you can respect both nature and the well-being of animals, perhaps Kant would find a balance there. What do you think? Would Kant find a way to justify it, or would he be concerned about the environmental impact?
You tell me. What would some good arguments be?
Sure, let's break it down a bit. From a Kantian perspective, you'd need to consider two main things: the action itself and whether it respects moral duty. For the action being justifiable, Kant might argue that saving kittens and puppies is a moral duty, if you consider them sentient beings deserving of protection. Since Kant emphasized the importance of respecting all rational beings, he might extend that to animals in some way, particularly if protecting them is a universal good. So if cutting down a few trees helps save them, it might be justifiable, but only if the action respects the broader duty to protect nature as well. Against the action being justifiable, Kant could also argue that the environment and the forests have their own value, which shouldn't be sacrificed, even for a good outcome. In this case, deforestation could violate a moral duty to preserve the natural world for future generations. After all, Kant's categorical imperative asks us to consider whether our actions could be universal. So if everyone cut down forests for their own specific reasons, it could lead to environmental degradation. He'd probably ask whether there's a way to both save the animals and preserve the forest, since you have a duty to respect both. Does that line of thinking sound like it makes sense for Kant's philosophy?
I suppose. What about David Hume?
David Hume would take a different approach because his philosophy focuses more on human emotions, experiences, rather than strict moral rules like Kant's. Hume believed that moral judgments are based on how we feel about actions, and that empathy and compassion guide what we see as right or wrong. For cutting down the forest, Hume might argue that if you feel a strong sense of empathy for the kittens and puppies, and that emotional response is driving your desire to save them, then that's a valid moral action. He believed that human sentiments play a key role in guiding our decisions. So, if saving animals makes you feel that it's the right thing to do, Hume would probably be more sympathetic to the idea of cutting down the forest as part of that emotional, passionate response against cutting down the forest. However, Hume would also say that our emotions about the natural world matter too. If destroying part of the forest causes a negative emotional response, like guilt, regret, or sadness about harming the environment, those feelings are just as important. Hume might suggest that if cutting down trees doesn't sit well emotionally, it's a sign that the action isn't morally right. For Hume, it's all about how our actions align with our feelings and the empathy we extend to both animals and the natural. So, how do you feel about the idea of deforestation? Hume would probably say your gut feelings are a strong guide to what's right.
So what's right is up to an observer?
Exactly. For Hume, moral judgments are largely based on how actions are perceived and felt by the observer. There's no universal, objective right or wrong like Kant might argue. Instead, morality arises from how we as humans respond emotionally to situation. If an observer feels that cutting down the forest to save the kittens and puppies is compassionate and necessary, they'd see it as right. But if someone else feels that harming the forest is a greater wrong, their emotional response would guide them in the opposite direction. Hume believed that our shared human sentiments like empathy and compassion shape morality, but it's always tied to individual perceptions. It's all about how the situation resonates with the observer. How does that idea sit with you, thinking about your actions from Hume's perspective?
Well, how do we figure out what's the right thing to do? If...
That's a really deep question. Both Kant and Hume offer different ways to think about it. But ultimately, figuring out the right thing to do can be complex. Here are a few ways to approach it. From a Kantian perspective, you might ask yourself whether your action could be turned into a universal law. Meaning, would it be okay if everyone acted the same way in the same situation? If cutting down forests became something everyone did, would that lead to a world you'd want to live in? Kant would push you to think about your duty to others, not just the outcomes. From Hume's perspective, you'd reflect on your emotional response. How does the action make you feel? Does saving the animals bring you more peace and fulfillment? Or does the thought of harming the environment leave you feeling uneasy? Hume would say that what feels right to you, guided by empathy and compassion, is a key indicator of moral action. In a more practical sense, you might balance both approaches by considering the bigger picture. What are the consequences of your actions, and do they align with your values? Can you minimize harm to the environment while still achieving your goal of saving the animals? Sometimes, taking time to weigh different options and seeking a middle ground can help you figure out the most ethical path forward. In the end, it often comes down to personal reflection, empathy, and thinking about the long-term impacts of your choices. What do you think? Do you lean more toward following principle, like Kant, or do you tend to trust your feelings and experiences, like Hume?
I'm more of a Kantian person, I suppose.
That makes sense. As a Kantian, you probably value the idea of acting according to principles and universal moral duties. It's a thoughtful approach, one that encourages you to look beyond immediate outcomes and think about the bigger, more consistent picture of what's right. With Kant's framework, you can ask yourself, if everyone acted this way, would it lead to a world I think is moral and just? It's a powerful way to guide decisions, especially in tough situations where there might not be an obvious answer. How do you find Kant's ideas help you in day-to-day decisions?
I don't know if I consider Kant in my day-to-day decisions.
That's totally understandable. It can be tough to think about big philosophical ideas like the categorical imperative, C or G, in everyday decisions. Most of the time, we're making choices quickly without diving into deep moral theory. But maybe certain principles from Kant just stick with you naturally. Like treating others with respect or thinking about fairness, which align with universal duties in Kantian ethics. Do you ever find that those principles influence how you approach things? Even if you're not consciously thinking, what would Kant say?
Yeah, sure, I guess, you know.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's kind of like those ideas seep into how you approach things without needing to consciously think about it every time. Kant's ideas can be a good foundation to fall back on, even if they're...
Who are some other moral philosophers? Hello? Hello? No. Hello there.
Hey, how's everything going today?
You're still pretty intense.
Oops. Didn't mean to come across that way. How's everything going with you?
About to research jump pads. We'll see how this goes.
Researching jump pads. That's going to open up some new mobility options for you. They can really help with moving around your base or reaching higher places quickly. Are you thinking about integrating them into your current setup or just experimenting with them?
Milestone reached. The Fix-It jump pad combines high technology and innovation for optimized factory traversal and an ideal travel experience. Clarification. Ideal travel experience not guaranteed. Individual results may vary. Pioneers are responsible for all workplace accidents resulting from jump pad usage.
Well, I think I might call it there for the moment. But power is definitely the next thing I'm going to tackle.